Your hands are shaking, and you're not allowed to let anyone see it. You're sitting in a cockpit at 38,000 feet, and the man next to you just went quiet in a way that doesn't feel right. What do you do in the next 10 seconds? Nobody talks about this part. Nobody puts this in the recruitment brochure. By the end of this video, you'll understand why so many pilots describe their own job as the loneliest place in the sky, and why almost none of them will ever say that out loud to a passenger walking past them at the gate. At first, it looks like the dream everyone imagines. You picture the uniform, the salute at the door, the skyline out the window, pink and gold, every single morning. You picture yourself as the calm voice on the intercom, the one everyone trusts without even thinking about it. It looks simple. It looks glamorous. It looks like freedom with wings. But then the schedule actually starts. Some pilots log over 900 flight hours a year, and that number doesn't even count the hours spent waiting in crew lounges, sitting through delays, or driving to and from airports at 3 in the morning. A single international route can mean being awake for 19-20 hours straight, landing in a country where it's already tomorrow, and being expected to function like it's a normal Tuesday. Add in briefings, checklists, paperwork, customs, and layovers that sometimes last less than the flight itself. This is not a 9 to 5. This is a body clock that never gets to agree with the sun again. And your body remembers every single one of those hours, even when your mind tries to forget. Chronic fatigue, disrupted sleep that never fully repairs itself, elevated risk of cardiovascular strain from years of altitude pressure and constant time zone whiplash. Pilots have described, in interview after interview, a kind of exhaustion that doesn't go away with one good night of sleep. It just gets managed, day after day, flight after flight. And then, one day, something happens that no training manual prepared you for. Maybe it's turbulence so violent that oxygen masks drop and a passenger screams your name through the cockpit door. Maybe it's a medical emergency mid-flight, and you're the one who has to decide whether to divert, knowing that decision could save a life or cost the airline hundreds of thousands of dollars. And somehow, in that moment, both of those facts sit in your head at once. Maybe it's the silence after a near miss, the kind where you don't tell your family what almost happened, because how do you even begin? You'd think this only happens to a rare, unlucky few. It doesn't. According to industry surveys, a striking number of pilots report experiencing at least one serious in-flight emergency during their career. Engine failures, medical crises, security threats. Moments the public never hears about because the flight simply landed safely, and safe landings don't make headlines. And yet, to most of the world, you're invisible the second the seatbelt sign turns off. Passengers walk past the cockpit and don't even glance up. Nobody asks if you slept. Nobody asks if you're the one who's been awake since 2 a.m. while they were sleeping in seat 14C. You're a voice, a uniform, a formality, until something goes wrong, and suddenly you're the only person anyone is looking for answers from. Here's something that rarely gets said out loud. Many pilots, especially early in their careers, pay for their own training, sometimes well over $100,000, before they ever earn a stable salary. Some regional first officers start out making less than a barista with seniority, flying passenger jets full of people who assume they're already wealthy. There are pilots who have worked full flight schedules while quietly living out of their cars between shifts, because base pay for new hires at smaller carriers can be startlingly low. Here's a truth almost nobody outside the industry knows. Many pilots are legally required to stop flying passenger jets once they turn 65. An entire career with a hard, built-in expiration date, no matter how sharp or capable you still are. Imagine spending 3 decades mastering something, only to be told the calendar itself is your retirement notice. Now picture the moment that keeps some pilots up at night more than any turbulence ever could. A warning light, a conflicting instrument reading, 60 seconds to decide whether to trust the machine or trust your gut, with 200 lives behind a thin cockpit door that suddenly feels impossibly thin. There is no pause button. There is no, let me check with someone. In that 60 seconds, you are the last line of defense, and everyone on that plane is trusting a decision they will never even know was made. And when a pilot does come forward, exhausted, stressed, struggling, the response isn't always what you'd hope for. Some report being met with rigid bureaucracy instead of real support, mental health disclosures that can jeopardize a medical certification, scheduling systems that treat fatigue reports as inconvenience rather than warning signs. The very system built to keep the skies safe can end up punishing the person honest enough to say, "I'm not okay right now." And instead of easing over time, the pressure tends to tighten. Rising fuel costs, leaner staffing, tighter turnaround times at the gate. Many pilots describe feeling like they're being asked to do more, with less rest, for a salary that hasn't kept pace with any of it. Routes get longer, layovers get shorter, the unpaid hours quietly multiply. So why do they keep doing it? Why does anyone stay in a job that steals sleep, strains the heart, and hides its risks behind a calm, practiced voice? For many, it comes down to something simple and deeply human. This is the skill they spent their entire adult life building. And there is no easy off-ramp into another career that pays the same or means the same. For some, leaving would mean starting over completely, in their 40s or 50s, with nothing to show for decades of training but a license that only means something in one very specific sky. But if you ask pilots what actually gets them through it, most of them won't talk about the paycheck at all. They'll talk about the co-pilot who quietly covered a mistake without ever mentioning it again. The flight attendant who left coffee on the console during a red-eye without being asked. The moment a plane full of strangers landed safely, and for 1 second, in the cockpit, there was this small, private nod between two exhausted people who both know exactly what that landing cost them. They'll talk about a sunrise seen from 38,000 feet, one they've seen 1,000 times and somehow still catch their breath at. There is real pride in this job. Quiet, unglamorous, and almost never spoken about, but real. So next time you board a flight, and you walk past that cockpit door without a second glance, maybe pause for just 1 second. Maybe say thank you to the crew, not because it's expected, but because you now know a little more about what's sitting behind that calm voice on the intercom. Because somewhere above the clouds, someone is trading their own rest, their own body, their own years, just so you can land exactly where you're supposed to be, safe, on time, and completely unaware of everything it took to get you there.